Okay, so you're a con for years. What happened, for those that don't know, what happened in the House of Con?
So, I was in the House of Con. I was like basically the one that was running the house. I think me and Big James, communication became like really blurred.
And for those that don't know, Big James is
the founder.
The founder of the House of Con.
That's my grandfather, and I think that our communication became really blurred. I think he didn't really see or understand like my view on things. When it came to running the House of Con, or even like communicating with other leaders from other houses to kind of like keep conflict down and stuff like that, he didn't really see it. But he also wasn't dealing with it so much because I was like doing everything. It started getting to the point where like people in our house was like becoming uncomfortable. Where like I knew we would deal with a big break off of like a certain amount of people leaving us and stuff like that because of the miscommunications with him. And I was frustrated because I had dealt with it for so long. Like I've been dealing with this. I've seen my dad go through it, and I just knew that it would be something that would never end. It would be something that never end. I think Big James was used to one specific thing. Like even before I got in House of Con, he was used to one specific thing, and that's what he wanted. And he kind of like was okay because the house was doing good. Like we was winning up the years. We was walking balls. We was everywhere. We was doing a lot of stuff. But still, there was a side of him that was like, he couldn't really deal with he can't deal with the stuff that people do outside of ballroom. So like people partying too much, people doing drugs, and people, all that different stuff. He wasn't used to all that. He's used to like the DC chapter of the House of Con with a few people in North Carolina, a few people here in New York, and that's it. Maybe a handful of people over in the Midwest or something like that. But like he wasn't used to a big house, so like the Facebook drama and all that stuff, he would get in the middle of that, and that kind of stuff is kind of like you can't really control it, but so much you can kind of step in and say, hey, I don't think this is necessary, or I don't think you should do this for your image, or whatever case may be. But like you get to the point of telling people to delete their Facebooks, and like that's kind of you just going too far into people's personal life.
So you would understand what his feelings
where
were,
he would want to,
but you didn't like the way he would go about wanting to handle those things.
Yeah, like you can't control a person's life completely, and once you realize you can't, you want to get to the point of like, oh, you're out this house. You know what I'm saying? Like we would never have a successful house. Like we would always consistently be like having to build a house because we always grooming new people. We wasn't really the type of house to take from other houses. We got people from the ground and we brought them up, and like it became exhausting to me. I felt like in my last year as a con, ballroom started to feel like a job to me. Like I wasn't like really enjoying myself. I was going to balls tensed up and like already upset because I knew what was about to happen, like how the ball would run and something like that. And I really I wanted him to be more supportive to us versus like his colleagues, like other icons and stuff like that. And I felt like he wasn't really supporting us that much.
So what was like the absolute breakdown of communication? What was that pivotal point that made you be like, okay, I'm leaving the House of Con?
So when Africa showed interest in coming to the House of Con, I want to say she talked to him first, and he was fine with it. He was like, he invited her to our house meeting and stuff that we had the weekend of his ball. And at some point, Father Tony got whiff that she was coming to our house meeting, and he called Big James, and Big James completely backed out on it the date of the house meeting, which was like.
Do you think that was out of loyalty for him, their relationship?
Mm-hmm. It was, for sure. It was definitely out of loyalty of their relationship. But, and these are both my grandfathers, actually from Monique and BJ, both my grandfathers. But at that time, like I'm on one side of the fence. I'm on the con side of the fence, and there's Revlon. Cons was able to go to Revlon.
And also kind of in the middle, too.
I'm like, but I'm saying because I had to pick a side in the situation, right. I had to be honest with Big James and say, I get why you saying this, but like we've had plenty of cons with Revlon, and they still do. So you kind of stop in like a structure that I feel like will help us to benefit his house when he doesn't do the same for you. And he wasn't really trying to hear it. He Africa got to the ball, she got her 10s as a con, and he walked up to her and told her she needed to go back to the judges and let them know that she's not a con. And like that just was uncomfortable to me because I was trying to we were trying to work on structure in the House of Con. We was kind of just like all over the place. We didn't pay dues. We didn't really have meetings and stuff like that. So I was trying to work on the structure. So like now this is already a bad image for us because we just had a whole house meeting with Africa where they basically chewed her up in this meeting. Like when I tell you like the leaders and the members too, like all sat in a room and we chewed Africa up so bad about like why you want to come here. And she get through it. We vote her in based off the stuff she said, and she get right to a ball and get her tens of the con. Now she has to go back and say she's a 007. It just was embarrassing to me. And at that point, I felt like I think I ran my course as a con. I didn't feel like the house would grow anymore because we were so stagnant in this place of like lack of structure. And without structure, I just felt like we wasn't able to move forward.
So describe the process of you leaving con.
So we was in. I was kind of one of those in those places where I felt like let's give Big James some time himself. Like let's just let him be, and hopefully he'll just get over it. We was in Dallas, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think we was going to the ball. This was for Juneteenth. I don't even think we was planning on going to the ball, but he thought we was, and I think he told Africa that he told Monique that he's going to go on Facebook and tell Facebook that Africa's not in the House of Con, and I felt like that would be so embarrassing to us. So once I realized this, like 3 weeks later, and he's still on this, I was just like, you know what, I gotta go. So I sent him a text, and I told him, I realize this is your house, and I'm not gonna be able to control what you do here. And I'm not going to be able to like change your mind about nothing. You have a specific loyalty to people that don't have the same loyalty to you. And that's always going to be a conflict of interest for us. And I left the house after that. And when we were sitting in Dallas, Africa had said to me like months ago, maybe like August, September, October, somewhere the year before, like, did I want to start a house? And I was like, no, I'm not ready to start a house. So I had brought it back to her. And
When you said that, was it more of a thing that you didn't think you could start your own house?
I didn't think I could. I didn't think I would have the power to like pour people into a house. And I asked her when we was in Dallas because she was just like, I'm so over this. Like, I'm fine. I'm just be a 007. I'll back away from Ballroom altogether. Can y'all just make sure y'all take care of my kids that came with her? And I asked her like, were you serious about starting a house? Like, you really want to do this? And she said, yeah. And we like me, her, and Anthony. We sat there and we talked about like house names and chants and all that different stuff. When I left the house, like so many people in the House of Con like went, like they was just like, ain't no way. Like, how you doing this? We going with you, blah blah blah. So I'm like, I'd already kind of like started thinking about where I would go, houses that I would potentially go to. And once I seen the amount of people that wanted to be with me, I was like, I ain't gonna be able to do this. And that's when we had the conversation about like, would you start a house? And she said, yeah. And we started like putting a structure together. We literally, while we was there in Dallas for that weekend, we like put together dues. We talked about like the structures of like leaders and how that would go and the expectations of everybody. Like we went through all of that stuff before we even left Dallas, and we had like over 100 people on board before we even got out of Dallas. So we was like, at this point, I think the ball was Marcus' ball was like July 14th or something like that, and we was like, this was like July 16th. We literally had under a month.
So basically, everything is moving pretty much lightning speed, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So and a lot of obviously emotions are involved in this as well. When you took a lot of the members and a lot of members decided to go with you, and did you feel bad about what was happening actually to the House of Con at the time, or what was James thinking or feeling?
To be honest, I didn't feel bad. I felt like I gave the House of Con like 11 years of Ballroom and like strong dedication. Like strong, when I say strong, I was like so dedicated to that house, and like I gave them a lot. I brought a lot of people to the house. I kept a lot of people in the house. Like I didn't feel bad because I felt like you had the opportunity to choose between your house and your ego. You chose your ego, and I know better. Like I definitely know better. But Big James told us a lot of times that he didn't care about like people being in his house. He felt like I would prefer to have a house with 12 people in it. So like being in a moment of anger and thinking about the stuff that he said, I felt like, okay, now you got it. You know what I'm saying? So I was like on some like, you feel how you feel and I feel how I feel. Now I'm no longer under your control, so how you feel doesn't affect me. And I was just ready to move on. I was more so kind of like, I was gagging at the response that we got, because we wasn't planning to go to the ball. We ended up going to the ball, and I walked as 007. And the response that I had got from like a couple people who was like some of the nastiest people to the House of Con, to the House of West now, I was so surprised to know that like these same people that wanted me to come to their house as overall father. That was it actually. It was 3 people who offered me an overall father position in their house, and like they hate us now. like immediately once our house like debuted, they was like.
I guess we'll get to that part. So so is there anything that you would have done different when you left? If you look back now, or would you have done everything the same way you did it?
No, I don't. Literally, I don't think it's nothing I would have done different. I felt like I started the way I wanted to start. I started with a strict structure, and I talked to every single member. Like via Facebook Live, I talked to every single member, like to make sure, are y'all okay with us moving forward this way? We used to this, but let's do this because we want to be better than what we was. This is the only way to do it. I feel like I did everything good, and I'm surprised that we was actually able to pull it together in a matter of like 28 days or something like that. But
And the founders are you, Africa, and
Anthony and Pork Chop.
Okay, so it's 4 founders in total.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you guys choose?
That picture right there, right?
I'll get it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
What made you choose the name West?
So we went through of course we went to Google and we looked up names and we. Before
you tell me that name, what's some names that you thought of before West?
All right, so we tried to think of mafia names. So we thought of what's some mafia names?
The Gottis.
No, keep going because I feel like you would say this.
The Gambinos.
We thought of some names like that, like Gambino and some other mafia names. We thought of like reopening House of Vivian Westwood.
Mm-hmm.
That was a house before. We thought about even asking Kenny Lanvin to reopen Evisu.
Right, to go stuff like that. Right.
Yeah, we tried to stick strictly at label names.
Right.
And me being who I am, I'm just like, honestly, y'all, I'm not really pressed to be like a label name. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's typical ballroom. And if we trying to come in here and like be our own people, then we have to kind of go with our own flow. And I feel like no matter what we name our house, if the house is eating it, it's eating it.
Right.
That's just that. Like that's what people. No matter what we name it. So, Anthony came up with West, and I was like,
you ain't like it at first.
No, I was like, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't moving me. I was just like, in my mind when he first said it, I'm like, child, he's saying that, but we think of something else by the time this even is decided.
Mm-hmm.
We had sitting there thinking of West. He had came up with like a chant, and we was like, bitch. So like, I swear, maybe like a whole 24 hours went by that very next morning, and I was like, no shade, West. West is eating it. I had thought of like. We had got with the person who was in the house at the time had got like some logos made and we got our chant and all that stuff and it just kind of was like clinging to me and I was like no shit I love West so like me and Africa was like yeah we just move forward with West and so West has like it's the right direction we just feel like that's the right direction it has no specific meaning it's not following Kanye West we use the direction and we choose to make like or define what that stands for. Just that simple. We didn't want nothing that already had a label to it somewhere.
So the House of West was birthed. What's the exact date?
On June or birthed. Wait, like public.
Debuted. Yes, debuted publicly
on July 14th,
2018.
2018.